Good morning, class. How's everybody? Everything's okay? Today we'll learn about the principles of speech delivery. But before that, let us all rise for the opening prayer. Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear Father, we offer everything and thank you for everyone gathered here today to walk with you. May we ask you for your blessing and guidance so that the activities set for this undertaking be successful. We ask you to open our eyes to see the wonderful things from this activity. We ask that you to open our ears so that we may retain the invaluable knowledge. Open our minds for us to think wisely, put us with understanding, cooperation, and peace in fulfilling our responsibilities. Open our hearts so that we may receive your everlasting love, and open our spirits so that we may know that you are with us all throughout the day. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, thank you for that. When we say speech, what comes first in your mind? Okay, please be seated. Thank you for the response, and that was correct. When we say speech, we are delivering a certain topic. Like Martin Luther King, he delivered a speech, I Have a Dream, and that was a famous one where we are in high school, we are already studying that speech and what that speech is all about. So before that, let's have a famous quote first in our topic. First we have is ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This quote was delivered by John Fitzgerald Kennedy. So, a short review, who is John Fitzgerald Kennedy? He is a 35th President of the United States from 1961 to 1963. The youngest man ever to be elected as US President at the age of 43. And also assassinated while riding in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas, becoming also the youngest US President to die. When you heard the quote of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can do for your country, what comes in your mind? Yes, that's correct. When we say, ask not what your country can do for you, as a president, you don't have to ask what people needed, but as a president, you have to bear in your mind that you are the one who is bringing change and bringing them rather hope, so that as a president you don't have to evaluate, or you don't have to ask one by one kung kung anong ilang mga kinahanglan, but as a president you are responsibility to know what they are needed. Okay. Okay, next we have quoted by Patrick Henry, which is a give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry was one of the founding fathers of the United States and the first governor of Virginia, a gifted orator and major figure in the American Revolution. His influence created the Bill of Rights, which guaranteed personal freedoms and set limits on the government's power. So that's Patrick Henry. Next, we have the pen is mightier than the sword, quoted by Edward George Earl Bulwer Lytton, a British politician, poet, and critic, chiefly remembered, however, as a prolific novelist. So that's Edward George Earl Bulwer Lytton. Okay, let's go to our main topic. Today we're going to learn about principles of speech delivery. First principle, we have the articulation. When we say articulation, it's how you pronounce the words and speaking with clear diction helps you transmit your message effectively. It is the process of how speech sounds are made. The words of the speaker must be understandable. When we say articulation, it depends on how you pronounce your words correctly. Dapat when we are going to have a speech, we have to first study the speech, uh, on how to pronounce the words correctly, on how to put intonation, on how to speak it correctly. When we say diction, it is a vocal expression. It's a vocal expression on how we transmit our message effectively to the audience. When we are delivering our speech, it must be clear to the audience. When we are saying a single words, it must be clear to the audience. The words of the speaker must be understandable. When we are going to speak like um in a certain speech, like we are going to uh say thorough, we don't have to say it thorough, but we have to say it thorough so that the audience can relate what we are speaking and it can be understood clearly. That's what we call articulation. Next, we have the modulation. When we say demodulation, it is the capability to adjust or manipulate the resonance and timbre of the vocal tone. When we're delivering a speech, it also required on how we give a tone on our speech, on how to pause, on how to raise, on how to lower our voice, so that the audience can relate to us, can relate on what we are delivering, on what we are talking, so that uh, they can express as well um, what we are trying to point out. It is speaking with the right tone and pitch. So when you say speech or modulation, rather, when we are delivering a speech, it required a pitch or a tone. Without a pitch or a tone, speech cannot be interesting. It can be boring. It is confirmed by the number of the word chants, but it should be loud enough for the speech to reach everybody. If the speaker's voice is modulated, audience will pay attention. So that's right. When we are, for example, I am a speaker. If I'm delivering a speech without a tone and a pitch, apparently the audience who are listening to my speech would not pay attention. They were grabbing their phone, they were search anything, scrolling down, scrolling up, because the way I deliver a speech is not interesting. It's give them bored it's give them bored time. On the other hand, if my opponent is delivering a speech, we're having a tone, a pitch, a perfect vocal tone, a perfect delivering a style, the audience will pay attention on him or her because he or she delivered the speech correctly. Other other than how I deliver my speech. That's a modulation. Next, we have the tips on mastering modulation. Number one, tempo and pitch must vary according to your message. So, for example, you are delivering a message to a person who are experiencing a depression. Apparently, you don't have to deliver a speech with a high voice or a voice like you are shouting, you are gi- because you are giving him or her advice. So your temporary pitch must be low and sad because you felt her or his uh what he or she is feeling right now. Number two is speaking too fast can suggest lack of confidence. So when we are delivering a speech, we have to give a minute or a second rather in every words we are delivered. For example, I am delivering a speech and I deliver it so fast. Apparently, or the people who are listening to me will never understand my speech because I deliver it too fast. It never give them a learnings, or they can't understand what I am trying to point out because I deliver it so fast. Next is number three. We have to keep to the normal speed of 125 words per minute. That's number three. Number four, keep the stresses generally on the second syllable if speaking in English. Okay. Next, we have number five, speak loud enough such that the listener will not need to copy his ear to listen, or ears rather to listen. Number six, pause for a moment in between sentences to control your speed. That's number six. Number seven, avoid non-fluences such as Yeah. When we're delivering a speech, we don't have to always say a word or like that because it's give the audience that you are not prepared on delivering your speech. Next, we have to minimize use of offensive and patronizing phrases such as I mean, what I meant, and understand. Okay, that's a tips on mastering modulation. Also, in delivering a speech, it also required to have a stage presence. When we say stage presence, it is speaking in public without or with managed fear. It refers to certain charisma and charm of a theater actor or performer. It is the ability to make the audience connect with and the performer and envelop them in the story being told, and in turn to express what the audience feels. When you are delivering a speech, it also requires to have a strong charisma or a strong courage. When we are standing in a podium, we have to bear in our mind that we are delivering a speech which is very important, that the people can learn on that speech. We don't have to feel that it is our first time to deliver a speech, but delivering a speech, it is our time to point out what we are needed to point out. And to deliver a speech, we don't need a fear. We don't have a fear delivering a speech. We don't have to bear a fear, but bearing a a courage, a charisma and charm, like a theater actor or a performer, so that the audience can relate on what we feel, and also we can relate on audience feelings to us. Yeah, that's a stage presence. Next, we have the facial expressions, gestures, and movement. It is in nonverbal cues or reinforce, clarify, and complement the message of any speech. Without this, the speaker becomes boring. So, when we are going to have a speech, we have to also balance our facial expressions, gestures, and movement. For example, when you're delivering a speech, you are moving to the from the right to the left, without uh, you are moving from right to left, without stopping in the moment. Like, in your whole speech, you are moving and moving without stopping on the center stage. Also for this facial expression, when we are delivering a speech like it concerns the people, we don't have to use expressions that we are angry, we are, you know, we are uh bored, or we are not into that place. Also, when you're delivering a speech, it also required a gestures. Yes. Uh, a perfect speech have the gestures, the facial expressions, and the movement. Without this facial expression, gestures, and movement, speaker becomes boring. So that's facial expression, gestures, and movement. Facial expressions should change depending on the content of the speech. Gestures are used to emphasize certain points. Movements should allow the speaker to move freely while speaking to direct the audience to follow him or her and keep hanging on to his or her message. That's the facial expression, gestures, and movement is all about. Next, we have the audience rapport. Audience report refers to the speaker's connection with the listeners. The speech should be appealing to the audience. Knowing your audience would help you establish good audience rapport. Also, in delivering a speech, we have to connect ourselves to our audience so that the audience can connect themselves as well to us. That's the audience report. Next, we have the tips on effective speech delivery. Number one, we have to use a conversational style more often. Speak naturally. When we are delivering a speech, we have to be natural in the way we are going to deliver it. Like we are just talking to a person we love to talk about. Delivering a speech doesn't require that you are perfect in the way you speak, the way you spoke out the words, but it also requires that on how you speak it naturally, on how you connect. Because delivering a speech in a natural way can attract more, can connect more in our audience. Next, we have to look your audience in the eye so that they will feel important. So when we are delivering a speech, we don't have to be embarrassed looking in the eye of our audience. We don't have to delivering a speech you are looking in the ceiling. Like today we are going to know what is all about is Independence Day is all about. But you are looking on the ceiling. So the audience we're also looking at the ceiling because you as a speaker you look at the ceiling. When you are speaking in the podium or in the stage, you have to be concise in eye to eye contact so that the audience can relate to you and can relate to the speech you are delivering. Next is adjust your volume to the size of your audience and the venue. When we say we have to adjust our volume. In our entire delivering our speech, we don't have to be always shouting or lowering a voice. Just like modulation, it is a required modulation on how we give tone or pitch in our speech so that the audience will not be bored. Next is vary your rate or speed to keep your audience interested and to avoid a monotone pattern. Yeah, that's number 4. Next, we have the master your voice and find your pitch level. Number 6, we have use pauses when you emphasize the most important words, phrases, or sentences. Yes, we when we are delivering a speech, we don't have to be uh, reading the entire text we are going to talk about. But we have to pause on our important words so that we can emphasize it. So that the learner learner or the audience or the one who listening to us can relate in that word, that they can say that yeah, that's it. Why he paused in that word? Because he is or she is trying to emphasize that word to us. Number seven is pronounce and initiate words correctly. When we're delivering a speech, we have to pronounce it correctly so that the audience cannot misunderstood the words or the phrases we are delivering. 8. Avoid fillers or expression that substitute actual words in your speech because these words are distracting. So, before we delivering a speech, we already uh we already write it down. So, when you are already write it down and you deliver it already in the podium or you already deliver it in audience or in the stage, you don't have to add to add fillers in your actual speech so that you can avoid distracting. You can avoid distraction, rather you can avoid distraction in delivering your speech. Next, we have to start your speech by standing straight and balancing your weight. So aside from facial expression, gesture, and movements, it also required to be uh it's also required on how you stand in the podium, on how you stand in the stage, so that the audience can relate that you have a strong camaraderie, you have a strong courage in delivering your speech in that certain places. Balancing your weight and standing straight can be effective in delivering a speech. 10. Use precise movements about avoid rather distracting mannerism like swinging back and forth, leaning on the podium, and licking or biting your lips. When you are delivering a speech, also speech is a formal way of talking to a certain people. It doesn't only require one or two listener, but when we're delivering a speech, a 100 or 50 people is listening to us. So we don't have to when we're delivering a speech, we don't have to swing our hands back and forth, leaning on the podium, and most importantly, we don't have to lick our mouth or biting our lick our tongue rather or biting our lips because we are delivering a speech. We are not making a uh, nonsense there. We are delivering a speech so that we can inspire and we can uh, give something to the persons or to the people rather. Next is avoid having a poker face or highly animated face. This is distracting and annoying. When we're delivering a speech, we don't have to do like this. We don't have to do like that because delivering a speech, it's differ on how we relate on our audience. We don't have to be poker face because you are delivering a speech. So the audience might say that, "Huh? What is that? What kind of speaker is that? He is having a poker face in having a poker face entire in speaking in his speech." So when we delivering a speech, we have to manage also our facial expressions, just like we tackled earlier. Number 12, dress properly and appropriately. So, yes, when we're delivering a speech, we have to be uh, like professional because speech is a formal one. Dressing a professional way can attract more can attract the people who is listening to us. We don't have to wear a shirt like pajama because you're delivering our speech. Why you're wearing a pajama? Then you don't have to wear a revealing dress because you're delivering a speech. And delivering a speech required also properly or appropriately dressing. So, to impact audience and also to give them ideas, learning. Yeah. Next, we have observe ethics, becoming prepared, being honest with your words, being polite, and avoiding offensive words. Yeah, that is most important in delivering a speech. 14, we have breathe in and out to relax before your speech. Have fun. So, don't remember, delivering a speech is not only required you to be formal, but having fun as well. You have to connect to the audience. So you have to connect your speech to the audience so that it can't be bored in the entire time you are going to deliver your speech. Breathing out and breathing in help you to be relaxed in delivering your speech. Okay, okay. That's the principle of a speech delivery on how to be a on how to speech correctly, on how to deliver speech correctly, on how to uses our tone, our pitch, facial expressions, gestures, and movements, and delivering a speech, and how we dress. So, therefore, let's go to our task. First is, based on what you have learned from this lesson, list down in your activity notebook 10 habits for a good speech delivery that a speaker needs to develop. It serves as your assignment. So, class, it serves as your assignment and it will be passed tomorrow. For example, words should be pronounced and initiated well. Okay? You may get a one whole piece of paper and answer these questions. First, as a student, how important is it to become an effective speaker? Cite example. Next is applying the principle of speech delivery. How can you effectively use your voice for the good of others? So, you have 30 minutes to answer these questions. Also, tomorrow, we are going to tackle this, and one by one, you are going to represent what you have learned in our lesson. Write 3 to 5 sentences about the things that you learned from the lesson. What are the things that you think are very useful in your daily undertakings? Give a specific situation wherein you can use the said or said learnings. Do this in your activity notebook. So tomorrow you will present it in a class one by one. And on Friday, you will comply this. Guided by the principles of speech writing, write a speech about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in your life as a learner and as an individual. Afterwards, video yourself by delivering it and upload your video clip in Google Drive. Send the link via Messenger, Victor Pahadamo, or Gmail, victorpahadamo250 at gmail.com. Apply the principle of speech delivery in your work. Please be guided by the given rubric. Remember, it will be passed on Friday. So after you finish the two questions I give you earlier, you have to proceed on our exam, which is identify the principle of speech delivery referred in each statement. Write your answer on the blank provided. After you answer the two questions, you have to proceed so that this assessment is composed of A, which is identify the principle of speech delivery for the each statement, and letter B, tell whether each statement is true or false. Write your answers on the blanks provided. Okay. Okay. That's it, class. And you only have 30 minutes to go before you finish the uh, assignments or the assessment we have. And also, you have to answer this assignment and it will be passed also on Friday together with your speech performance. You don't have to post it on our official messenger group if you are shy or not.